Okay, so now that we've talked about some of the snake species we have in the area, let's talk about rattlesnakes. How many people, if you see a snake up here, you automatically think rattlesnake and get scared? Anybody start thinking like that? Good thing to know is how to tell if we have a rattlesnake or if we have a harmless snake. The most obvious feature is the rattles. Every rattlesnake has one. They're even born with a rattle, one tiny little segment. It's called a button. And these buttons are made out of keratin, which is the same thing that your fingernails and your hair are made out of. So they will gain each one of these buttons every time they shed their skin. When snakes grow, they completely shed their entire skin, gain a new rattle. And then once they have two or more, it's able to make that noise that you hear that people associate with rattlesnakes. And what that noise does is a way of saying, I'm afraid if you get away from me, I will bite you if you get closer. Most rattlesnakes will do this to defend themselves. They don't always, but if something that you hear, it's a good indicator to get away from that noise. Two, how many of you heard that the rattlesnakes have triangular heads? And it is true. Members of the pit viper family have a very wide set head and very small neck. And the reason for that is because they have the venom glands in their face. So they will look a lot different as opposed to, say, our gopher snake, which I'll take out in a minute and show you guys some comparative things. And then another thing is they have very large bodies and very short size compared to other snakes. So if you see a long, skinny snake that's about 4 feet long, you can pretty much think that it's not a rattlesnake. Rattlesnakes usually get pretty bulky, pretty fat-looking snakes. So that being said, Phil, can you take out our gopher snake for us? So this guy, you guys have probably seen him. His name is Dicker, and Dicker is an 8-year-old great basic gopher snake. Very nice guy. He's been in captivity his entire life. Really cool side story I'll tell you guys about him. He came from a guy named Gene, who owned him for the last 4 years, and the reason that Gene got him was from an elderly lady. Sadly passed away and needed a family had to find a place for her beloved pet. She would actually sit and watch TV and hold Dicker in her hands throughout the afternoon. So pretty cool little story. So one thing I want you guys to notice while Phil is walking around is, do you see a rattle on the end of his tail? No, very, very pointy tail. Rattlesnakes will have a very blunt end of their tail and those rattles as well. Another thing is the shape of his head. You guys notice as he's going around, the shape of his head is an oval. So we know that he is not a rattlesnake. Like I said, rattlesnakes have that more triangular, bigger head. And so if you also take a look, you'll notice that the head is about the same width of the neck. That's another indicator that that is not a rattlesnake. And the easiest way to tell the difference between a gopher snake and a rattlesnake is the pattern on its back. Rattlesnakes will have diamonds or blotches. If you take a look at Dicker, he actually has a checkerboard pattern on his back. Little squares right next to each other, so that's another good way to tell. And when Phil gets back around, he's going to explain to you guys the benefits of having rattlesnakes around. How many people are afraid of rattlesnakes? Yeah, good reason, because rattlesnakes are harmful, but they're also very good for our environment. Phil's going to tell you guys.
Well, absolutely. Rattlesnakes are an important part of our ecosystem. Snakes eat rodents. Snakes are what they call a secondary predator. They are just below the very top of each food chain. Hawks usually take the top that's a top spot in our food chain, and then they take the snakes. The snakes handle and control rodent populations like you wouldn't believe. Rattlesnakes are very, very good at finding rodents and eating them. That's how they survive, and that's what they have come to over many, many years of existence. Excuse me. If you want to think about it, if everybody killed every single rattlesnake, we would just be overrun with mice. And they would be in all of our food and all of this other, they would just be everywhere. So, that's a good argument if you want to think about it that way, why rattlesnakes ought to continue existing. Another thing is rattlesnakes do not want to see you. As much as you don't want to see them, they don't want to see you. They come out looking for food, looking for mates or water, and they don't want to see John Q. Public. They want nothing to do with you. They happen to come into your yard, it might be because Okay. going to see them in your yard, it's because you have something that they need. Food, shelter, water, perhaps a mate. A lot of people have asked me many times, what can I do to keep a snake out of my yard? And that's fine. Snakes, if you don't want snakes in your yard, that's totally your thing. I'm cool with that. What you need to do is take away the shelter. If you got a wood pile, you got a trash pile, you got anything a snake can hide under, or mouse or anything like that can hide under, that's potential habitat for a snake. Rattlesnakes will take advantage of these places. So if you don't want a snake in your yard, get rid of those things. Get rid of standing water. If you have like a dog watering dish, make sure you're checking it a lot. Empty it out at night, bring it inside, whatever. A snake will use standing water because it's a desert. Water is scarce. If they can find water at your house, okay, they're going to go do it. Sometimes at their own risk. Yeah. And Rachel.
So we're just going to continue switching back and forth to give you guys information. So Phil told you guys that rattlesnakes can be good. Rattlesnakes can also be harmful to human beings. The number one thing is they do have venom. What venom is it's just a collection of proteins that do very bad things once they get inside our body. What they can do is they can cause your blood cells to react differently, cause you to bleed out of places that you shouldn't. Also could cause your heart, lungs, and brain to slow down and even stop. So those are some ways that something that we need to be concerned about with rattlesnakes. So, what happens if you see a rattlesnake? Does anybody know what to do if you see one? Yes, sir. Okay, he says just walk away. Anybody else have any other ideas? What do you do if you see a rattlesnake? Yes, sir.
Stand still and back up really slow.
Stand still and back up real slow. Any other ideas that we want to share? Yes, ma'am.
Don't bug them.
Don't bug them. Okay, we're actually going to do a combination of all of these things. So let's say you're on the playground, and by your favorite swing set, you see a rattlesnake or a snake that you think might be a rattlesnake. If you're not sure, it's good to treat it like a rattlesnake, just like that. And so what you're going to do is you're going to freeze, very slowly back away from the snake. The snake is terrified of you. You are bigger. You are a predator in its eyes, and it's going to know that you can do more harm to it. So what you're going to do is you're going to back away real slow, about the same distance I am from Phil. Then feel free to run, scream, and panic in the opposite direction. Little kids, if you guys see a rattlesnake or a snake you think is a rattlesnake, go tell grown-up. Make sure that you keep people away from the area so professionals can come and safely remove that from you guys. And there are people like Phil that also has a lot of friends that live in the high desert here that you can give us a call and we'll come and remove that rattlesnake for you if it's possible. You can also call your local animal control and they can also help you as well. Some people will choose to kill rattlesnakes in their own yard because they don't want them around. We trying to share more information with you guys so you can understand that's not always the case that needs to happen. There are people that can safely remove it away from your family, go put it back in the desert where it can go eat mice and live happy on its own. So, what if I get bit by a rattlesnake? Let's say I'm out hiking or camping and I get bit, didn't even get a chance to see it and walk away. Well, what do you think you do if you get bit? Anybody have ideas?